Welcome, everyone. Welcome, and thank you so much for watching our interviews. Today is going to be about mindset in business, and our special guest is Phil Drinkwater. Welcome, Phil. Thank you so much for being with me today.
And thank you for inviting me. It's fantastic to get to talk about a subject that I guess I'm so passionate about.
Amazing. I am looking forward to hearing more about your story and your experience. Phil is an online business owner of a thriving business founded 21 years ago. Over the years, Phil employed over 20 staff members and has managed to own his niche with zero competition. But during that time, Phil also had struggles. He is a highly sensitive person, which makes him feel overwhelmed sometimes and overthinking. Phil used and developed tools and techniques and boundaries which allow him to embrace and use his trait to his advantage. Thank you so much, Phil, for being with me. I am sure we are going to learn a lot from your experience of 21 years.
Yeah.
This is quite impressive. Tell us more about your story. How did you start on this journey and what is your mission today?
Yeah. Okay. So, I was originally a technical person. So I was a programmer. I used to program computer games. And then there was a realization that there was a gap in the markets in the very early kind of web days. There was a lot of time, people trying to, build web businesses and just take massive investment into them and then they'd fail. We didn't go down that path. So we realized that there was, this opportunity, something that wasn't out there, and, built a website, started to do search engine optimization on it and grew it from there. It took a long time to, probably about 3 years, I think, to become in any way usefully profitable. But by the time that we were in the market, really, no one could particularly manage to fight against us. That's how we managed to own our own niche. Our SEO was so strong that, there was no one else really in the market, and we've just stayed in that position. Obviously, the product has, changed massively over the years. It's been 21 years. But we managed to, to just retain our own market, and it's been as successful, now or in fact increasingly successful as it was, 15 years ago or something like that. So we've done really well from that. And I think, as you mentioned, I'm a highly sensitive person. I also have, specific kind of personality traits and things that we'll come on to a little bit if you want to. Highly sensitive people, for people that don't know, and I did a poll actually on my own Facebook, and only about 40 to 50% of people knew what that even meant. Typically, it's people that have got a bit of an upregulated central nervous system, so can be quite sensitive to loud noises and things, or continuing noises, lights, sometimes horror films and stuff like that, and typically, people who are highly sensitive, will need more time to just allow themselves to calm down. Self-care really. Maybe going for a walk in nature, maybe reading a book, something that's a bit more relaxed than just staying online constantly, which is, obviously it's one of the elements of our lives these days. Less so 20 years ago when I started, when, the likes of Facebook wasn't even around and social media hadn't been invented. But still, it's very difficult for, some people in business to allow themselves time to switch off. And as you say, I guess somewhat developed and also learned from other people who were experiencing, the same kinds of things, to ways that I could deal with the emotions that I was experiencing. So if you think, highly sensitive person, typically, if you're not highly sensitive, your emotions might go from a +2 to a -2 or something, a very small amount. Whereas a highly sensitive person, it's like a +10 to a -10. So you have these enormous, highs and these enormous lows. And what you'll tend to find is, again, highly sensitive people will love art, for example, or classical or opera music. I love opera. Sorry, I love opera, and it can be very moving to people who are highly sensitive, and that's 20% of the population who are highly sensitive. That's to say nothing of personality types on top of that, which are probably about 50% of the population would be personality types that would have struggles with their emotions and their emotional states. So I guess if you were to ask what's my mission really, there's probably 60% of business owners there or thereabouts who are in this kind of category. They'll experience some struggles, whether that's the highs and lows of being highly sensitive or specific things to do with their personality type, and they will just find running their business harder. And when you start to look at some of the personality traits that people have, certain personality types might be much better to outsource work, for example. Certain personality types, people pleasers, for example, might be struggle a lot with boundaries, to say, well, I can't do that. I just can't do that. And they just throw so much of themselves into their businesses, and they can't keep going. It's incredibly difficult. And as I say, most people don't even know what these things are, never mind know whether they are that. And my goal is really just to help people to cope with these ups and downs that a certain percentage of business owners will never experience, but for the other group it can be quite overwhelming.
Wow, this is quite an impressive mission. Thank you so much, Phil. And thank you for making yourself vulnerable and sharing with us your own story and your own struggles. And this also makes me think about my own journey, because I also used to be extremely shy in the past. And I was kind of closing my emotions and not letting people to see whatever was happening. And I was actually becoming defensive whenever someone was approaching me, because I didn't know how to deal with all of these emotions. I didn't know that this exists, to be highly sensitive. I don't know if I am actually. I don't know what personality type I am. But how do you think that people could use this to their advantage, or how can they become more in control of their emotions?
Yeah, so it's absolutely the right question to ask. Well, first off, it is useful to go and get a bit of a diagnosis, if you like, of your personality type and things. There's three that I tend to use. There's one called 16 Personalities. You can just search it on the internet. That will give you a rough idea of who you are as a person. There's different groups of people. You can also search for HSP test. There's an HSP test online. If you get more than I think it's like a 17 on that, then you're highly sensitive. I get a 24 out of 26, so I'm way up there. There's also various tests to find out your attachment style. Attachment style is down to how you were parented. It's one of the elements of how you were parented and things, and that will change the way that you react to things. So in terms of controlling your emotions, typically it's about understanding what you can do to help yourself when you are emotional, as opposed to control your emotions. Because control your emotions sounds like you're trying to throw them away, and certainly for certain personality types that can be a really horrible feeling for them. The idea that I'm not enough, I'm not okay. Say certain attachment styles particularly will feel that quite strongly. And so it's about feeling empowered to be the person that you are, and also accepting that maybe you need to make some changes. So for example, one of the things that I've done throughout the years, I've done quite a lot of different things, actually, not just my business. I've had other things on the side. I decided to launch an agency, like a marketing agency, and I can't express how bad that was for me. It was It was horrendous. And the reality is, as a person, I struggle a little bit with deadlines. I don't like deadlines. That does not suit me as a person. So, I spent a year trying to get this thing going before I realized that it was never going to work for me. And so I shifted off in a different direction. And I did some analysis, using a spreadsheet, on the traits and elements of things that I would like in a job or a career or a business. And what came out for me was that an agency was way down here, and actually becoming a coach, business coach, and specifically emotional coach, someone who helps people with this kind of stuff. That was so much more suited to what I wanted to do. And it was, it was a kind of a fascinating learning experience for me to be able to put all of this down and say, that thing that I was going to do, not for me at all. This thing over here is right instead. So sometimes it can be about making some changes. As I mentioned earlier, certain personality types won't like deadlines and those kinds of things. It might be that it's better for them to say, do you know what? I'm going to outsource this work. I'm not going to do the work myself because I don't like deadlines, but I'm okay with running a business. I'm a good manager maybe, and I can stay on top of the business at that level, but I'm just going to outsource the work because otherwise I'll get overwhelmed. So other things that I would say are important for pretty much everyone that's maybe in this group. Sleep. So I came up with the concept of mental energy dollars a number of years ago. And when you go to sleep, you replenishes your mental energy dollars. You maybe have 2,000 to use over the day, and different elements of your day will take a different amount off that. So for one personality type, it might be that receiving an email from a critical email from a customer takes off 500 of your dollars. For another personality type, it might be almost nothing to them. So understanding the elements of your personality where you really drain you, that takes so much off you, is very, very important. And so the idea is, at the end of the day, you'd like to still have some mental energy dollars left. If you're in deficit, every single day, you're going to be exhausted, you're going to be overwhelmed, and you're going to be burnt out. 3 months and you're just going to start struggling too much. So the idea with the mental energy dollars is it gives you a concept to think, well, how much am I managing to end the day still with something inside of me? And if you're finding that you're often in deficit, you can go, okay, so I need some self-care. So it might be that partway through the day you need to say, right, I'm going to do some meditation, or I'm going to listen to some forest sounds, or I'm going to take a walk, or I'm going to read a book for half an hour or something like that, just to allow your nervous system to calm down a little bit for a while, so you don't end the day exhausted. Another thing that people will tend to do is they'll go on the phone. I mentioned it, they'll go on the phone last thing at night, and again, you're depleting your mental energy dollars more and more because you've not got a good sleep routine. Sleep is what replenishes it. So you're waking up the next day with even less. Maybe you don't have 2,000 to start off with. Maybe you got 1,500 and you can do even less, and you just end up getting burnt out. So yeah, it's about understanding, the pace maybe that you as a person can handle in your business. It's fine for you as a business owner to design the business that suits you and your life, the life you want. You should never feel guilty about passing work out to other people. And that's something that I see quite a lot, actually. People thinking I should be able to do more, or something like that. And shoulds are a real killer. they hurt. I should be able to do this. Suddenly, as I say, you're exhausted and overwhelmed. So yes, sleep, really, really important. A good sleep routine is absolutely essential for everyone. And self-care during the day might be really important for, certain groups as well.
Thank you so much, Phil. These are really, really valuable information and lessons for our business, but also for our life.
Yeah.
Because this also makes me think about my own journey, actually. I did not know that all of this exists. So I really struggled because I took a path which was not at all aligned to my energy. And I was all the time drained, as you mentioned, and tired, exhausted in the evening. And also deadlines, they were absolutely killing me, exactly what you mentioned, because they were not according to my nature. So
No.
it really took me a while to really identify what was happening inside myself, what did I want, what are the activities that really fill me in.
Yep.
And do
Yeah.
you think that this is something that actually should be the starting point whenever we are starting a business? This is really, so it's not about the big idea, it's not about earning money. Is it really the starting point of identifying what we want to do in life?
I think it is, yes. And I mean, I've been fortunate with, my other business, the one that's been going for 21 years, I've been able to design a role for myself, which suits me, that works well for me. People can keep going with willpower for an amount of time. It might be weeks, it might be months, it can be years, but eventually it will be exhausting. So I think understanding yourself at this kind of level and thinking, well, what actually suits me? And not thinking that you should be able to just do anything is really, really important. As I mentioned, I started an agency, and this was where I started to recognize that, it was just a terrible idea for me to have anything deadline based. That does not work for me at all. So if you're going to create a business which will require you to go beyond what you're maybe comfortable with, as a person, it's going to be important to have a plan to make sure that that doesn't happen for too long. So if you're thinking, as I did, well, I've been in marketing for a long time, I can go and do that for someone else. Really, what I should have started out with, rather than doing any of the work myself, was just, I want to be the manager of this business. That's not the direction I went in. So yeah, I would say it's absolutely the starting point, understanding yourself and what matters to you, and how you best work. I think is crucial to having a happy life, and a business life. We talk about life and business as if they're almost disconnected, but you spend, maybe 8 hours a day on your business, and you might only have 3 or 4 hours of time to yourself. So I think it's really important to get those 8 hours right, and to be doing things that fill you up as a person, and don't take too much off your mental energy dollars.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Phil. I fully agree with you. And I believe this is also the case for those people who are in a career. Because
Yeah,
often we are
agree.
in jobs that we don't like and we force ourselves because we say, okay, I have to fulfill this task because I need to get a salary at the end of the month. And I really believe that is not a way of living, because
No.
there is so much beauty out there that we could enjoy and we don't dare even to dream about it. So this is really a pity, I would say, for those who don't even dare to go into dreaming, not even implementing it.
No, and actually, I agree with that. So, someone I was coaching recently had built so many walls around herself, it literally, almost to the point of not being able to move. I can't go and do this because of that. I can't do this because of that. I can't do this because of that. I can't do this because of that. And all of these can'ts, eventually, they do become walls. They stop you being able to take any movement, any direction to go and, become something that you're happier with. And you start to struggle with procrastination, because your mind knows you're not enjoying this. Your subconscious mind knows you're not enjoying this, but your logical mind is sat there saying, but I need to earn money. And you get this kind of fight, this internal fight. Well, the internal fight takes a lot of your energy up. Every day, every hour, one part of you is thinking, well, I need to go and do this, and the other part of you is thinking, I hate it. And you just blocked yourself in so much. So it's really, really important to understand and appreciate that you can actually do pretty much anything you want. I can't and will never be able to jump 20 feet in the air. That's a can't. Almost anything else isn't a can't. When I'm coaching, I tend to talk a lot about want and will. So the starting point is, can I? And typically the answer when you really evaluate it is yes, I can. The second question is, do I want to? And the third question then is, will I? Now, I often ask people, out of 10, how strongly they feel towards those. Do I want to? Do I want to go and, change my career? Yes, 10 out of 10. Will I? Or 3 out of 10. Well, you then know where the problem lies. It's in the will I. It's in the confidence, and those kinds of things. You really want it, but you won't give it to yourself. And as I say, that's where people have, tend to have sort of blocked themselves in with all of these barriers, and it takes time and building confidence and self-confidence, actually, before you can start to move on.
Thank you so much, Phil. Absolutely, I fully agree with you. Before we close the interview today, I would like to ask you, who do you serve? And how can people contact you if they want to learn more and if they want to get coached, if they are in the situation that you described?
Yeah. So who do I serve? I mean, it really is people who typically who are business owners who are struggling with their emotions. Maybe they're not satisfied with their life and their business. Maybe they're overwhelmed. They're exhausted. Maybe they're procrastinating and never getting work done, and they don't know why. Maybe they're people pleasers, and they just don't have any boundaries, and they become exhausted, because of that. So those would be the kind of groups. As I mentioned, also, highly sensitive people who, maybe just are struggling just with energy almost. They just don't have the energy. So those kind of groups of people, I would say, are who I really love to work with. In terms of getting in touch, you're welcome to find me on Facebook. If you search for Phil Drinkwater, you will find me. I also have a website, which is phildrinkwater.coach, and you can contact me through there. I'm going to be building a community, actually, for people who are in this group, or these groups, and there'll be courses available, some kind of group coaching and things. So the idea is that, it's super affordable, but will give people, an enormous amount of value. So, if we can work out what your personality type is, for example, then we can say, well, you probably want to do this course, and this course. It's all going to be, included as part of that. So yeah, I think, those are probably the key things, but that's not set up yet. Hopefully soon.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Phil, for being with me today, for bringing so much value to my interview, but also to this world, and helping us to understand that we are all different, we are all unique, and that there is a way for each one of us.
Absolutely
If you
right.
need help with this, contact Phil, because he's there to support you and to help you in your journey to really live out of your true nature. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much, Phil, for being with me.
You're very welcome. It was a pleasure.
And for those of you who are listening to us, stay connected, because more is to come. We have so many topics, so many coaches who share their missions and their value and all the knowledge and experiences they had over the years. Stay connected, more is to come.